Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome once again to the Positive G channel. Today is 26 April 2016. Thank you for taking time off your lunchtime to join us today. Our topic today is creating a positive work culture to drive performance. Now, this is a big topic, so in the 15 minutes or so, we will only cover some of the research that backs up the need of having a positive work culture to drive performance. What are the pillars that we can actually leverage to change, and some simple activities, probably 3 different activities that you can quickly introduce into your work environment today. Without further ado, let's get started. A little background about me. Some of you have attended the previous sessions, so I will not dwell too much here. Personally, I'm a coach with Positive Growth Club, and I also teach at Coach Masters Academy. My personal interest is in positive psychology, hence I'm a member of IPPA and the Canadian Positive Psychology Association. And my great interest is really combining coaching and positive psychology. So, a quick look at what's been happening today in our work environment. Have we been doing it wrong in the sense of expecting staff to actually derive happiness when they have actually achieved success, or they've received more incentives, or they've met their KPIs? It seems that staff are not necessarily getting happier as we drive more and more performance out of them. In fact, as we try to drive performance through incentives, we often have to counterbalance it with a sort of a stress management workshop as fixes. So these cause researchers in this area to really think about, are we really doing it the right way? Are we driving performance and hoping that the staff will be happier when they actually achieve their outcomes? Sean Anker is one such person who dwells into this question. And he discovers that happiness actually fuels success and not the other way around. So the powerful benefits of a positive brain. He showed it through research that people actually demonstrate more energy, more productivity when they have a positive mindset. And certainly more creativity has been demonstrated by Sean as well as by other researchers. Because when a person is in a positive mindset, they tend to have a broader lens of their world. They scan the environment for what's actually happening around the environment, versus someone who's in a stress mode, which is a evolutionary aspect of how we actually tend to focus our attention on the danger rather than being more creative. So a positive mindset can also bring up 3 times more creativity in our staff. And more importantly, by being positive, it actually brings about less stress. So if we're able to drive the positive culture within our work environment, there's no need for the fixer stress management workshop. The idea here is to try and reprogram the brains of your employee to be positive, and through that, help the organization gain a competitive advantage. So how do we go about doing that? For those of you who have attended previous webinars, you would have heard of the PERMA model. This is proposed by Dr. Martin Sattler as 5 different pillars that you can look at to try and inculcate positivity within yourself as an individual. So what we've now done is to take the PERMA model from the individual level and look at it as a workplace model. So this is called a workplace PERMA survey, and with that we've added in a new pillar which is called vitality or health. Now in the PERMA model, there are different elements that we can work on to deal with different aspects of negativity within the organization. The top bit here, which is the positivity and the meaning components, these are the 2 pillars that we can work on to actually help employees cope with failures, cope with negative events or negative triggers. The engagement and the achievement pillars, on the other hand, help employees to drive their own performance and to get more out of their day-to-day energy level. Last but not least, relationships and vitality are the 2 elements that really help to cement the glue of the teamwork and as the organization. It helps to drive performance and positivity through the teams and through the organizations itself. Let's have a quick look at the different pillars. Positivity. A key thing to note about positivity here is to actually introduce the language and vocabulary of positivity here. Now, positive emotions is not limited to just happiness. If we had looked at one of our old webinars, it actually shows you that any emotion that energizes and uplifts the individual is a positive emotion. And this could include joy, hope, amusement, love, uh, gratitude. Different languages for positivity ought to be introduced within your staff's vocabulary, and encouraging people to notice the positive emotion when it's displayed is an actual good element for promoting the element of positivity within the culture itself. So we're going to have a look at the paid forward exercise, which we will see in the next few slides. Mixing engagement. How do you identify your top strengths? We had a webinar, I think a couple of weeks back, about identifying your top strengths. The reason for doing that is because we found that actually by asking a lot of employees within, especially the Asian work culture, people are often shy about naming their top strengths. There's also sometimes a gap between what are the strengths that they think they have and what are the strengths that others see in them. So we're going to do a find the person behind the strengths activity here to help to marry those gaps, and also to provide an avenue for managers to look at ways to coach employees forward. Relationships, or who am I connecting with and why is this connection important to us? So Sean Anker, in some of the companies that he does work with, simply introduced a very basic activity of sending gratitude emails. And it was found that employees who actually send gratitude emails, maybe 2 or 3 a week, just to thank people for simple tasks that they've done for them, actually promotes a better relationship between themselves and the other employees, and also create a sense of positive emotion within themselves as they feel good writing the gratitude. Okay? Next, meaning. Choosing who we want to be and what role we want to play when there are negative events is a huge thing. It helps us to change the lens with which we view the world and find meaning in challenging times and in negative times. So this is something that requires a little bit more work and may not be introduced in today's workshop here, but it could be in a more in-depth workshop. Achievements. Now, this is where we need to change the language of achievements from having a half-yearly, quarterly performance review to simply recognizing progress, learning, and the strategies that are being employed by employees that are different from before, and which allows the projects to be progressed, allows the work tasks to be progressed. So recognizing achievements from a growth mindset point of view. Last but not least, how do we decompress on a daily basis? I spoke to an executive whom I was coaching recently, and he said, you know what, the company knows that we are in a stressful work environment. They accept that as the norm. And they send us, to stress management workshop maybe like twice a year. So I asked him, yes, so having the knowledge of, the stress management skills, having the awareness that the work environment is stressful, how has he actually applied it into his day-to-day life to decompress from his work environment to his life environment and to decompress from his life environment before returning back to work the next day? And he was quite stuck by the question, because while they know about the knowledge of having to do stress management, while they know the different techniques and abilities to de-stress, often they don't put it in place. So how do we actually encourage that into a habit? Changing the habits and not just the knowledge and awareness of the activities is where it's going to be key. So let's have a look at some of the activities we mentioned earlier in greater detail. The paid forward activity is something that came out from the movie, I think it was in 2009, when there was a teacher that asked 9-year-old, I think they were third graders, how they're actually going to change the world. And one student came up with the activity of paying it forward, demonstrating an act of kindness to 3 people and requesting that the person that they've helped to help 3 other people. Now, this does not just seem to be an esoteric activity. It can actually be applied in a work environment. And one such company, what they did was they make it into what they call kindness registry. So the individual in the company is given an identification number. So say I'm number 303. So when I do an act of kindness to my colleague, they have an option, it's not an obligation, they have an option to go up to this internet website, which can be a simple intranet page, and register 303 as having done something good. And then this employee will then actually go and do something good to someone else. And he gets actually registration for 303, who is the originator of the Pay It Forward program, as having influenced the second person to do something good. And what we can do is then trace the footprint of number 303 and its impact on the kindness registry and of the activities that have changed within the work environment. And they found this to be an amazing activity, both from people who actually received the kindness and also for the people doing it, having their numbers registered on the book. It became a sort of like a friendly competition. And what is actually interesting is the kind of kindness activities that emerge out of it. Some have shown that when there was actually competition of resources, one delivery manager actually extended extra man hours to the sales team, and he was being recognized on the kindness registry. So you can not only just create a positive mindset, you can actually create positive actions that really help the work environment to move forward as a team. So that's one example. Second example we talked about was who is the person behind the strengths. This is really to help us to recognize within ourselves and also within our team members the strengths that they demonstrate. And there is a feel-good effect of it. So what you need to do is that within the team itself, everyone has to write strengths that they recognize of other people within the team. So I would write the strengths that I recognize, say, in a 5-person team of A, B, C, and D. So I'll give them the description. And the manager does is to accumulate all the strengths that have been given under the person A. And on a notice board, like a team notice board, it could be online, it could be a physical board. What you do is to describe the strengths, but not identify the person associated with the strengths. And you'll be surprised to see some of the results that came from it as to who actually is being recognized for those strengths. Now, this serves two purposes. It allows the person whose strengths have been recognized to be acknowledged for what they do, and there is a feel-good effect that is quite lasting. It also helps the manager to coach employees who believe they are demonstrating certain strengths, but there is really a gap between what they think they're demonstrating and what their colleagues and team members are actually recognizing them for. And they may also discover strengths that are not recognized by themselves and which they can actually now develop even further or find new ways to use those strengths. So this is an interesting exercise that you can do, which would really bond the team together. So we've done quite a few examples there in terms of what you can implement within your positive work environment. So we're going to take this workplace survey activity and intervention a little further. We have a special guest, Michelle McQuaid, who is a faculty at the Melbourne University, who teaches applied positive psychology. And she herself was a graduate from the Masters in Applied Positive Psychology from the University of Pennsylvania. She will be coming around to one of our webinars on 6th of July, and she'll be working with us to share how she's been using the workplace PERMA indicators and the intervention activities. So we'll look very closely at the case study of Melbourne Water and how they use the PERMA model as an individual, as a team, and as the organization, and what are the impacts that they've created as a result of that. So we hope that you will be able to join us on the 6th of July. Now, what are some of the interventions or workshops that the Positive Growth Club can actually support you on? Now, we talked a little bit about the workplace PERMA survey here. So we definitely can come in and help you to do a pre-point check, so a pre-assessment on where the organization is at in terms of the various pillars of flourishing. And through that, recommend you certain intervention activities that you can implement, either through actions that we've talked about earlier, through coaching, to training activities, as a collective framework that you can use to promote corporate well-being with the end goal of driving engagement as well as staff performance. So please feel free to check out our website and do email us if you have any queries about the workplace context. So thank you very much once again for taking time off your lunch to join us. For those of you who have typed in the questions on the chat box, please do stay back and we will actually go through some of your queries. I look forward to seeing you all again the next time. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be talking about stress management.